Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial. And what we did in the previous section is we took a look at a module, basically a time and date module, and we took a look at some of the different functions that allow us to manipulate with time and date, as well as calculate different time, calculate date between two different dates, how many time has passed, as well as converting the date into the appropriate look, such as, for example, the European time, the USA time, and, the USA date format, and so on and so on. We also saw how we can actually split them into different categories, such as, for example, months, days, years, as well as seconds, hours, and minutes. We also took a look at the microseconds, and basically we converted all of that into strings in order to be able to print that. So we took a look at different functions, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the module called regex. Now, basically that module, we can import it with a simple re command. So import re, that is the name of the library. And basically what that is a regex, or regular expression, is a sequence of characters that forms a search pattern. Now, for example, let's say you have a huge file, and in that file, what you want to actually get from is a bunch of emails. So there is a bunch of emails in that file, as well as, for example, phone numbers, and you only want to extract emails. So basically regex library allows us to do that just by specifying a simple pattern, and we're going to take a look at how we can do that. Basically, regex can be used to check if a string contains the specific search pattern. Python has an inbuilt package called re, as I said, which can be used to work with regular expressions. So let us see first of all how we can actually import regex. So open up your idle, go right here, let me enlarge this, and as I said before, in order to actually import regex, we simply need to type import re, and that is an inbuilt Python library. We don't really need to install it, it will already be there. So right now, let us look at the example of creating regex object for, let's say, for a mobile phone number. Now, there is a different syntax for this regex. Now, you can take a look at the table, or basically the table of characters using or to represent different types of characters, such as, for example, right now we're going to use \d, which is used to represent a number character, or basically just a number. You can take a look at that table of representation different characters online. Basically just type regex table, and you can go to the official Python website in order to check the regex syntax as well. But right now we're going to, as I said, take a look at the extraction of the phone numbers. So make sure to remember that \d is an actual number representation. So right here we will use compile function, which will return everything that matches our pattern specified. Now that compile function belongs to the re library. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to type simply phone number, which is going to be our variable that is going to store the actual number, and we're going to perform the compile function onto that variable. So right here, phone number equals, or pardon me, not going to store this variable right here is not going to store the phone number, it is going to store the pattern, and then we are going to make a string that is going to contain a phone number, and we will see whether this pattern of a phone number can find it. So right here, as I said, we're going to use the compile function, but before we actually use it, we need a prefix of re, because it belongs to that library. And how this compile function works is basically in between the brackets right here. We need to specify letter R, which basically represents that we're going to make a regular expression right now. And in between the quotes, we need to specify the actual regular expression. So before we actually do that, let us see Notepad. We know that the actual format of a number, let's say it is something like this, 555-555-5555. So this is a format of a phone number, and right now we need to make sure that we specify it correctly so our regex library can find it, or regex pattern, as well as we already know that the \d represents a number. So the easy way that we can actually write this would be something like this. So backslash d, backslash d, backslash d, which is going to present the first 3 digits. Then we will specify dash, and then once again backslash d, backslash d, backslash d, backslash d represents the second 3 digits. And right now we need to add another dash and then specify 4 digits, which is going to be represented as 4 backslash d's. So backslash d, backslash d, backslash d, backslash d. And basically this is our regex pattern. If you just click here enter, you will see there will be no error, and all we'll have to do right now is to actually make our own string that is going to contain this phone number. So for example, let's say string equals, and let's define it like this: my phone number is 111-222-3333, and then dot at the end. So this is our string, and we are going to try to find this phone number with this pattern. So let us go right here. The function that we are going to use to perform that action is going to be the search function. Basically what search function does is it will look through the specified string and see whether it can find a match with the regex object that we created right here, which is named phone number. So we need to combine these two in order to perform this task. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to type match equals, so we're going to store our match in a match variable. So match equals phone number, which is our regex object, and then we need to add the search function to that regex object, as well as specify the actual string that we are searching from in between the brackets. So right here we're going to specify string. Basically what this does is it will call a search function to this regex object, which is going to perform the search onto this string. Now this doesn't have to be string, you can also read from a file, which we're going to take a look at in just a moment, but for now on this will be more than enough. Let us press here enter, and if you just simply type here match, you will see that you will get match object and then some information right here, as well as the match right here. So we can see match equals 111-222-333. And if you, for example, only want to print this, so you don't want to actually print all of this, you can simply just type here something like this. So print, and we will use a group function that is also a part of the regex library, and the group function will return the magic object if it is found. So right here we're going to type it like this, so open the single quotes to print a string, found a phone number, then we can specify 2 dots, and we can concat to it match.group. As I said, the group function once again will return a match if it is found. So right here you will see that if I print that, it will print found a phone number 111-222-3333. Okay, so we successfully did find a match. If you want to, you can simply just read from a file as well, or you can use a multi-line string. For example, if we have string 1 equals, and then open 3 single and 3 closed quotes, and type here in this string we have a phone number which is 333-333-3333. And we have another phone number. Oops, let me just write this properly. So, and we have another phone number, which is, and right now let us specify a wrong one. So for example, 444-4-444-4444, and then close 3 single quotes. And if we perform the same search onto this string 1, it will only find this object right here, or this pattern, or pardon me, this phone number right here. So let us check that out. Match2 equals, and then we want to perform the same thing that we did right here. We're going to use the same regex object or regular expression object that we coded at the beginning, and we're going to use a search function onto it and specify the string 1. Then if we want to print the actual match, we just type here match2.group, and you will see it will only print out 333-3333-3333. I think I said way too many 3's right there, but doesn't even matter. Now also one more thing to take a note of is that even if we actually specify this to be a correct syntax for a number, or to match this pattern up here, this will still not find this second phone number. That is because we are using the search function, or pardon me, the search function, which will only find the first match it finds. Basically, if there are multiple matches, the search function will not find it. And we're going to take a look at how we can actually find all of the matches in a string later on. But for now on, let us see another example of, let's say, how to extract emails from a large document. Now, of course, we don't have a large document right here, but what we can do is we can open our Notepad file, and we can simply just type here, for example, here is a list of emails, and then let's say aaa@gmail.com, bbb@yahoo.com, and cccc at, for example, com.com. Doesn't even matter, you can make something up, and then you can just type some gibberish right here, which doesn't make any sense. You can also try to manipulate with different actual email syntax, such as, for example, ccc@com.com. It shouldn't really find this one because it is incorrect. And then you can add something else right here. Then we will save this onto the desktop right here, emails.txt. So we save this, and right now let us create a program that will read from this actual file. Okay, so open up your new file right here. Let us save it right away onto our desktop. Make sure to save it the same path that you saved your emails.txt. And right here we're going to name it, for example, email extract.py. Okay, so we named it. If we go right here, you can see that right here is our email extract file as well as our emails file. Okay, now let us code it right here. So what we need to do is, first of all, we need to import RE, and then we need to open and read from our emails.txt file. So we can do that with simply file equals open, and we want to open emails.txt. We want to open it for reading. We can specify RT for reading text if you want to, or you can simply just type here R, doesn't even matter. What matters is that we need to store the actual emails or the documents into a certain variable. So right here we will just specify file underscore text equals file.read. Okay, then for example, all we have to do right now is actually match with a specific object. Now right here, this might actually be a little bit harder syntax than before. Of course, you will see it right here. So let me just show you. If you just type here match equals RE and then find all, and what find all function basically does is it is the function that will search multiple matches and not just one. Basically, our search function that we used in the previous example, what it does, let me just enlarge this, what it does is it basically, oops, right here, so we can see both of these screens. What this function right here does is it basically searches for the first match. Now it will disregard the second match or third match, or basically if it finds multiple matches, it will only store one. While as the find all function will go through the entire string and see all the matches that match the current specified pattern. Okay? Therefore, we're going to use re.findAll in order to find all of the emails, which then will be returned in a list. Okay? So right here, all we have to specify in between the brackets is the match itself, which we will specify by beginning with the R. Then in between these single quotes, we'll specify the actual pattern. Now I will just write it right here. Give me just a second. So the square brackets is what we use. Then we specify the backslash. Then we use the W, comma, or pardon me, dot, dash, close square brackets, add a plus, and then we'll specify the @ symbol that is going to be in the email then open and close square brackets, and then \w, backslash dot minus. And at the end, all we need to specify is a plus, and that is our search pattern. Now I know it might look a little bit too harsh, but make sure that you read all of the syntax for regex online, on the official Python pages if you want to, and then you will understand this on a whole nother level. Now, it is very important that you do understand regex because it is used in any field of Python programming. Basically, it is really useful, especially in data extraction, which is an example of what we are doing right now. And enough about that, we'll talk about that later on. What we need to specify at the end of this is comma and then what we want to read from. So we want to read from the file underscore text. Okay, and basically all we want to do afterwards is print the match. Let us save this, save, then run it, and you will see that we actually get retrieved all of the emails that we specified. Now, you will notice right here that it actually did find this email, but only a certain part of it. That is because this actual pattern right here works by finding the actual @ symbol and then adding the strings from the left and to the right of that @ symbol, specifying the entire email address, as we can see right here. Okay? Therefore, it did find but only half of this email address. Let me just open the actual file. Here it is, as we can see right here. These are our actual correct emails, and this is our wrongly specified email. Because of this second @ symbol, it didn't manage to actually find the entire email. But don't worry, you will not encounter this kind of email because it doesn't exist. You will not notice if I just delete this, save it, and then run the program once again. Right now, it found all 4 emails with the specification of this com.com that we didn't have in the previous example. Okay? So that is also something to take a look at. Basically, what the actual... let me just close all of this. What the actual plan of using regex is always the same. Basically, there are 4 steps that you need to follow, which is basically just specifying the string where you want to search from, the compilation, and then searching, and then printing basically the matching objects. So the regular expression syntax can be a little bit tricky, but as I said before, you can take a look at the regex tables and correct syntax online. So let us go over the standard procedure of using regex once again. So step 1 is to, first of all, import regex, of course. Don't forget to do that. Step 2 is to create regex object with the re.compile function, which we did right here. This step, that is step 2. The step 3 is to use a search to pass a string to search from. So this is right here, the search function. We pass the string to search from, and then the 4th step is to call the group function to see the matches. Now the actual steps in our program that extracts emails is a little bit different, but we're going to see more of the examples of that later on. Okay? Now, you can also group different elements if you want to by putting them in brackets. And what I mean by that, let us take a look at the example. So what I will do is I will restart the actual idle. We're going to take a look at the example of a phone number once again and how we can group different digits of that phone number using regex. So for example, import re first of all. Then what we're going to do is we're going to type right here phone number equals, and then we're going to specify the re.compile function, but in between the brackets, we're not going to do the same thing as before, just by simply specifying the \d, and right here, we're going to simply specify in between the single quotes, we're going to specify open and close brackets, and then once again, open and close brackets. And in between those open and close brackets, specify dash. In the first one, you specify \d, \d, and in the second one, you can specify \d, dash, \d, \d. Okay? So what we did right here is we actually created the same actual syntax for the previous example, but right here we actually divided them into different elements. So right here, if I just press here enter, and we perform the same search function as before, so match equals phone number dot search, and in between the brackets let us specify a simple string, and the string can be, for example, his phone number is 444-333-55555, okay, and then dot, press here enter, and right now we can print different groups just by specifying the element we want in between the brackets. So for example, if I just type here match.group, and in between the brackets I specify 1, you will see it will print the first part, which we divided right here. As you can see, the first part is going to be the syntax stored in the first brackets, and the second part is going to be the syntax stored in the second brackets. So if I just type here match.group and specify 2 in between the brackets, you will see we get printed out the rest of the phone number. So you can divide it by your own needs. And of course, if you, for example, want to print the entire number, you can simply just specify match.group as in the previous actual example. And you can also specify match.group and specify the 0 in between the brackets. It will get the same output. Basically, it will print the entire match. Okay? Now, why you might actually need to use this is, for example, you want to split the phone number by the vendor code or the area code and by the phone number. So, for example, you have a phone number that's something like this, 065-999-9 and then 999. So this will be the phone number, and this is going to be the 3-digit number that will actually correspond to the different area code or vendor code or basically something like that. And maybe you want to split that. You could simply do that just by specifying, for example, vendor code, comma, phone number is going to be equal to match.groups. And what this groups function is basically groups function will split them into different variables. Okay? As you can see, vendor code would be variable 1 and the phone number will be variable 2. And that is how you can simply just split them by your own needs. So basically that would be about it for this simple tutorial. We took a look at different functions such as the compile function, the search function, the group function, and the groups function. We also saw how we can actually read different files, read different files and read from them and extract what we need with our regex pattern, such as, for example, we were able to extract different emails from the pattern itself. And what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to take a look at some of the more examples of using regex, so make sure to stick for that. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!